Protests both in support of and against the proposed mosque near Ground Zero happening this weekend, 9 years, of course, after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Opponents want the mosque moved, but the imam behind it says moving it may be a threat to national security.
If we do move, it will strengthen the argument of the radicals to recruit, their ability to recruit, and their increasing aggression and violence against our country. Our national security now, it hinges on how we negotiate this. If we don't do this right, anger will explode in the Muslim world.
Here to discuss this is New York Republican Congressional Candidate Dr. James Milano. His opponent, Congressman Gary Ackerman, declined our invitation to be on this morning. Good morning, Mr. Milano.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again. It sounds like what Imam Rauf there is saying, that the mosque cannot be moved without igniting radicals. So then what do you do? It sounds like there's no room for compromise.
Well, it certainly sounds like it's coercive. It almost sounds as if it's a fatwa on the American people. Americans have never been fearful of threats, never been fearful of terrorists, will not negotiate with terrorists, will never start to negotiate with terrorists. And in addition, Americans have never been afraid of doing the right thing. And the right thing here would be to help the imam find an alternate location to save the reputation and the feelings of not only Americans, which Muslims are part of America, but also peace-loving Muslims in this country.
It sounds like what he's saying that is, if it does not go in that exact spot, if radicals believe that somehow he has caved to some sort of anti-Islamic sentiment, that they will go berserk. So what do you say to Americans who really are not comfortable with it in that spot?
Well, you tell the Americans this. You have to stick with what you feel. If you feel it's not an appropriate location, being so close to Ground Zero, that you have to stick with that. You can't be threatened or swayed by people giving coercive statements. I mean, the CNN interview I thought was poorly framed. Behind a calm face, I saw a lot of anger in the imam's eyes. So I think the best way to go about it is just, if you know what you feel is correct, you stay with it. You can't be threatened.
Do you believe him that it will ignite radicals if it's moved?
I think maybe short term, 4 or 5 days, but that's all.
This weekend, there were 2,000 people who came out in support of the mosque. There were also many people who came out to oppose it. But do you sense that 2,000 is a large number? Do you sense that somehow in New York, public attitude is shifting towards the mosque and that people are more supportive?
No, I think that the backbone of the American people is actually strengthened. Now there's steel in the backbone.
So what's the answer? What's the next move here?
Well, I think that if this gets carried out for a long period of time, I do not think the mosque will be placed near Ground Zero. There's no need for it. Muslims around in this country know that it's not an issue of it's an issue of sensitivity. It certainly doesn't play into the fact that Islam is a peaceful religion, and people know that. And the longer this goes on, the more people will realize that it does not belong in that location, especially with an imam who is radical, is tied to questionable funding. In 2005, he said that the American people have more blood on their hands than all of Islamic jihadists. In addition, he will not condemn Hamas as a terrorist organization, and he will not promise that none of the funds will come from Iran. Americans.
I think in that interview he said that they wouldn't take any funds from anyone with any sort of deadly intentions or hostile intentions towards America. He didn't specify, but I think that he tried to clarify that during the interview. Did it make you feel better?
No.
James Milano, New York Republican Congressional Candidate, thanks so much for coming on with your insight.
Thank you.